Hi guys, welcome once again to the channel. I'm Tommy T, and today I am reviewing Bel-Air episodes 4 and 5. So let's get into it. Let's waste no time. In episode 4, we find out that Rashad actually finds out where Will is. And Trey tells Will that. And so we know Trey is his friend from back home in Philly. Will's like really nervous about that. So we'll get into what happens later. But the main story in this episode, or the main storyline, was Uncle Phil's campaign event, right? So at first, it was a private event for donors. Throughout the episode, Unveiled kind of tells Uncle Phil like he's playing it safe within the episode, his run for DA, and she's wanting him to kind of open it up a little bit more and everything like that. So before they get to the event for Uncle Phil's run, they basically are going out canvassing. The family's gonna go out in the community, get people registered to vote, get businesses involved to register to vote, and they are sent on assignments. Well, before their assignments, Carlton had pulled his dad aside, was like, "Hey, if we get 50 people registered, can he get some tickets to the Grand Prix?" That's what Carlton's into. And then Will was like, he talked to Hillary. I like the way that they are describing their dynamic, Hillary and Will's dynamic. We see that Will is playing the piano, which, in the very first episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Will actually plays the piano. And they're surprised. Well, in this case, Hillary was surprised, but wasn't unexpected. Her surprise more so was like, "Hey, I've tried so much to play this, but I've never been able to get it." And I love their dynamic. I love the dynamic between Will and Hillary, just because in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, we didn't see them actually connect on the level that they're connecting now so early in the series. Hillary kind of was like, "Yeah, that's my little cousin," moved to the side. But now she's taking an interest in Will and just like actually happy he's here and supports him in a lot of things. So it's kind of like the cousin relationship you would think Carlton and Will would have, seeing that they're closer in age. But Hillary and Will has a really, really great cousin relationship. And she gives him advice on talking, like understanding the game and like actually, getting things for, like asking for things. So Will takes that advice and he talks to Aunt Viv about getting Trey to come out if they get along. His deal was if he gets along with Carlton while they're out, then they'll get Trey flown out, and he'll can be happy with Trey, and they'll do some things, and he doesn't have to worry about paying for anything or anything like that. So the deal is set, it's on. So Will and Carlton have to get along, and they have to get 50 registered voters in order to get what they wanted. So like in the TV show, I don't want to say it the TV show, but the original Fresh Prince, Uncle Phil relating to the people, black voters and everything like that, is an issue. We see that in this episode number 4, that the black community really didn't get behind him just because he didn't understand the struggles that the black people in the community actually felt. And that's why this was so important. This event was so important. And originally it was for the donors. And so once everybody got their assignments, like Hillary and Ashley had to go out to the businesses, and Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv were meeting some of the potential donors. And as they were meeting, it was a couple that they were meeting, and the lady, she kept asking, where did she see her? Like, is she, she finally figured out that Aunt Viv used to be a painter, right? And then so Uncle Phil jumps in and says that, she used to be a painter. She doesn't paint anymore. Like, she's in support of him and everything like that. But we see that kind of causes Aunt Viv to get into her feelings a little bit about her not really painting. So we see that storyline starting to develop more as far as like her gradually getting back into painting and becoming an artist, like becoming more active as an artist on the show as well. And she talks with Uncle Phil about it, like, hey, I'm an artist and I'm always going to be an artist. I may not be active like I used to be, but I am an artist. And Uncle Phil is like, yeah, but right now you got to support me. And she told Uncle Phil that he's playing it safe. We've heard this a lot in this episode as well. A lot of I think Carlton was told Uncle Phil he's playing it safe. And Viv, as I just saw, said he's playing it safe. So Uncle Phil is battling that, trying to please the police, commissioners and the politicians, as well as get the votes that he needs to actually win, and pleasing the community as well. So that's the dilemma that Uncle Phil is actually in. We kind of skip around to Carlton and Will out in the community. Carlton could not get anybody signed up. They wasn't trying to hear it, and he wasn't actually relating to the people in the community. And Will saw that, and Will was saying, hey, we have to get these done. They both were aware of them having some type of deal. It finally came out and they were aware of it. And it's like, yo, we got to get this done. So what's the best way that we can do it? And Will was telling Carlton, like, you're not relating to the people, and that's why they're not wanting to get along with you. They're not wanting to register with you. Somebody said, why should I vote for a nigga that's already rich? Great question. And that question made Carlton mad about it. Just like, what do you mean? But Will finally gets through to Carlton that, hey, I need you and you need me to get what I want. And so they work together to get things done. They actually get into it first, and Will goes to Jazz's business. Come to find out, Jazz is a business owner. And, Will goes to the business. He sees the artist, Buddy. So that's a big name that's in there. In the show, he sees Buddy and talks to him, gets a picture with him and everything like that. Jazz made it make sense for Will in actually getting along with Carlton and finishing up the job. To get everybody to register and come out, Will invited people to the skating rink where the campaign event was happening. And Carlton wasn't liking it at first, but then Will was like, just trust me on this, work with me, and we can get what we need to get accomplished, because the more people are there, the more people we can get registered, and we can both get what we want out of everything. Now, I'm going to go back a little bit just because I want to talk about the storyline between Hillary and Jazz. As we know, Hillary did not like Jazz back in the original Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. But in this one, they presented Jazz to Hillary in a different manner, in a manner that they're not trying to date each other, but they do have a mutual respect and liking. Because Jazz was like, he knows Ashley. Ashley and Hillary came into the record store when they were canvassing for the campaign event. And Ashley spoke to Jazz. He was like, "What's up, Ashley?" And Hillary, that was the first time him and Hillary had met each other. It's in the record store, in this record store. And she found out that he owned the place, and they kind of talked about it. And then she asked for his Instagram. He was like, "I don't have social media." So she set him up. She went live with him, and she followed him. But there's some type of liking there between the both of them, or admiration there between the both of them. We obviously know Jazz thinks she's pretty, the hot chick, the tall chick in the pool house, but Hillary, you can see her more welcoming to Jazz and liking the idea that he, is the owner of a record store and really, kind of about his hustle. And she likes that. And I wonder where they're going to go with that dynamic and that relationship. It's kind of interesting on that part, just because it's so many ways that they can go with that. So I like that. We also find out Ashley is into, like, Ashley gets away from Hillary by saying she's going to go to the next business, while Hillary is doing her thing with Jazz. But actuality, she goes over to a friend's house. Now, up until this point, Ashley has been in the episodes briefly. She's not in this episode a lot, but it's more than what she has been. And we kind of been like wondering, like, what's going on with Ashley? Like, why hasn't she had a lot of roles or, been a part of it? Because in the original, Ashley was a main part of every episode. So we find out that Ashley she plays online. Ashley's 12 years old. She's a kid. So she's doing childlike things. She plays games online. She met up with her friends over a friend's house. Her friend, a guy, and I say that because we find out in episode 5, Ashley likes a girl. But her friend actually is digging her a little bit, and he's like, "Oh, this is time to, like, kind of shoot my shot." So he puts his arm around her, and as he's putting his arm around her, Jeffrey shows up to get Ashley. And Jeffrey is the man. He is like secret agent man, because he knows all and sees all and does all. Jeffrey comes to get her. He says, "Hey, we're going to keep this between us, but you can't go off sneaking around and, sneaking away from your sister and stuff when you're supposed to be doing stuff." So he gets her, and he doesn't tell her parents and stuff like that. Jeffrey is a very important person with Will's situation, because, like I said at the beginning, Will found out that Rashad, the drug dealer from back in Philly, knows where he is. So that concerns Will. So Will went in to talk to Uncle Phil about it, but Jeffrey was there. So he was like, "Hey, Jeffrey, do you know why I'm here? You know what happened?" Boom, boom, boom. And Jeffrey was like, "Yeah, I know what's up, Rashad, and stuff like that." And he was saying, Will told Jeffrey that Rashad knows where he is, and he was like, "Handled." Jeffrey just said, "It's handled out, he'll take care of it." So we find out that, they paid Rashad to leave him $10,000 to leave him alone, to leave Will alone and drop it. But he didn't. And he requested more money, and Jeffrey was like, "I don't plan to pay him." So we all kind of figure what that means. So at the end of the episode, we find out that Rashad is dead because Trey calls Will, or Will calls Trey to celebrate that, hey, he's coming out to LA and everything like that. And Trey tells Will that Rashad has been killed. That gets Will thinking like, man, did Jeffrey kill Rashad? Like, is that how he handled it? And we don't know, but we have an idea that that's the way he handled it. Everything is pointing to that. We don't know. We're going to see if they're going to go into it anymore, or if that's just the end of that storyline. But the biggest issue that Uncle Phil had inside of the episode was that he couldn't. His at the skating ring, you had everybody from the community, but you also had the donors and everybody else. And the issue that he ran into is the questions that they asked him. Like, is he in support of the gang charge, along with first offenders, and how does he feel about the police? Now the issue comes in. He says he believes in that defunding the police should happen, and of course, as a DA, he has to work closely with the police, and the police chief was there. Lisa is the daughter of the police chief. Will doesn't like that because he's triggered by policemen, which we obviously know why. So that all of that is happening, and Uncle Phil says he feels like he needs to, he supports defunding the police, and everything, and that's always a conversation. It's more to it than just saying defunding the police. It's a conversation that needs to, behind it. And everybody of course, has their, initial thoughts of it because it's such a brash statement. So after the skating event, everybody's happy on a high and everything like that. And that's pretty much the end of episode 4. Like I said, Will then finds out about Rashad and being killed, and he's telling Trey that they're gonna fly him out to LA. So that's how we end episode 4. I really like the way the stories are starting to develop. I do feel like Ashley is left out a lot as far as like the development of her character and everything. But the development of Uncle Phil's story, Carlton and Will's collision as far as like cousins, I'm really curious to see how their relationship develops, just because we all know that they, like, in the beginning, they like really bumped heads, but over time they became best of friends, and it worked. So I'm really curious to see how they're tying that and are going to tie that together. But overall, episode 4 I like it because it leads to the next. Everything leads up to the next episode. And then, so I'm gonna get into episode 5 now. Trey comes to LA, and Will is picking him up from the airport. And the biggest issue that Will has in this whole episode is the idea of moving back to Philly. Trey expects him to move back to Philly, and he says it. He's into it and hey, when you get back to Philly, we're going to do this. When you get back to Philly, we're going to do that. And so Will has to make that decision if he wants to go back or if he wants to stay. We really get to see the dynamic between Uncle Phil and Hillary in this episode, in episode 5, just because we could tell that Uncle Phil really loves his children, but you never see you haven't seen the relationship between Uncle Phil and his kids and the girls. And this is the first time, like, we know that he supports Hillary because of how Aunt Viv and Hillary collide and clash with each other, and how he responds to it. So in this episode, we see that Uncle Phil is helping Hillary pack her stuff up, because in episode 4, we find out that Hillary got accepted into one of the social media houses. I forgot to say that in episode 4. But yeah, she got accepted into one of the social media houses, which helps Hillary show that she can be more independent with things, or, with help in getting things. So we see Uncle Phil helping her pack her stuff up and talking about her preparing for the dinner with her housemates and her family later on in the day. They talk about that, and then so now we're back with Will and Aunt Viv and Trey. Trey brings up the idea that Will moving back to Philly, and Aunt Viv is the same way that Will's feels like, hey, I thought he was just gonna be out here to stay, because we all know, like, he's in a better situation. There's nothing against his mom or anything like that, but Will being in Bel-Air, they can expose him to more things, which that's a conversation that Aunt Viv had with Will's mom, but she took it, Will's mom, I think that's her name. She took it as a dig to her as being a parent, which I don't think that's a dig at all. It's just we obviously know that Aunt Viv and her family can expose Will to more opportunities because of their everyday life, versus him moving back to Philly, living with his mom, and him getting the scholarship to the D1 school. Like, he can still be going to getting discovered by a D1 school in Bel-Air with his aunt and uncle. And I think that's what's missing out of that conversation. But to respect her sister, she, was like, hey, let it be Will's decision. She's not going to try to encourage him left or right. She's just going to go with whatever he decides to go with. And they respect that from each other. I didn't know Trey had met Carlton. So we do find that out, that they met as children. So, that's pretty cool. And Carlton gave a cold response to it. Let's see. The problem that a lot of people have when moving away is they lose touch with their old life, right? And so Trey is thinking everything that they do is bougie, uppity, like having to wear a suit to dinner. He was like, hey, this is just how they roll. You can see Will actually adapting to the atmosphere that he's in now. And he's adapting to it well, learning the customs of the way that they live and stuff like that. He's starting to see the benefits of being in Bel-Air versus being in Philly. Like I said at the beginning, this is the biggest, this is one of the main decisions that he has to make, and he has to let people know that it's what he wants to do. So they get ready for the party. Once again, Will goes to Hillary and ask her, like, really what he should do as far as like either staying or going back to Philly. Hillary is like, you should stay. She said, your mom will be mad, parents will be mad, they'll get over it, but you should stay. The opportunity is more, and she wants him to stay. So that, it makes sense. all of us are like sitting there. I'm sitting there looking at it like, man, I would probably stay. No question. And I would just make sure to have my friend come out all the time, spend the summer with me or something. But yeah, I'm definitely not going to go back home. The opportunity is too great. And of the things that they've like him being there for the period of time he's been there already and the things that they're able to do, because the boys find out that they're going to the D-Smoke concert as well. We find out how much of a hip hop head Uncle Phil is too, which is good because it modernizes it as well as it humanizes Uncle Phil. A lot of people are like, have a battle between the James Avery Uncle Phil and this Uncle Phil. But me personally, Uncle Phil is an iconic character. And I think the guy is doing a wonderful job portraying Uncle Phil in this modern day version of Bel-Air. Let's see, where are we at? So we at the dinner party. And at this dinner party, all of Hillary's housemates that she's moving into comes by to, I guess meet her family and kind of like they can all see who she's living with and stuff like that. Throughout the whole dinner party, Trey is like up there drinking. He's getting faded. Everybody's having conversation. Ashley is actually having a really good conversation with one of the sexologists people that's in the house. And they're talking about sexuality and decisions on sexuality. So that tells us that Ashley has some questions about it. And that leads into later on in the episode, her sitting down and talking with Hillary. Let's see, where are we at? So nobody knows about Will, the real reason Will is there, except Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv and Jeffrey in the house. And Will, of course. So the kids don't know why Will is there. So Trey, actually being, loose at the lip, tells Carlton, I bet you're happy Will's going back home now that Rashad is dead. Now, Carlton, being who he is trying to figure out what happened. So he starts asking more questions. And Trey eventually says Will had got arrested, had a gun, and Uncle Phil got him out of trouble. And that's why he's here. So that rubbed Carlton the wrong way. And we obviously know who that was going to rub Carlton the wrong way. So with that rubbing him the wrong way, we then see Carlton talking to his dad about that very situation. I felt like he was very disrespectful, thinking that he can just talk to his dad any type of way that he wanted to just because his dad did something to help his cousin. Like that stuff doesn't, like, when they thought of dramatics, they really went in on this Carlton character just because it's like Carlton really, really does not like Will. And he's going to do everything he possibly can to be against Will. Will, Will made some mistakes. And Carlton is going to use that. Like when he was talking to Uncle Phil, he was like, how can I trust your word? Like, Uncle Phil was like, hey, don't tell nobody what happened because it can affect more than just one person. Like saying like that could get me in trouble too. And Carlton was like, yeah, you got my word because it matters. My word actually means something, saying that Uncle Phil's word doesn't. Then he goes and rushes Will, saying he's a liar and stuff like that. So Carlton and Will was like, what are you talking about? Carlton was like, he knows everything. Will was like, don't tell nobody. Please don't tell on me and stuff like that. And so Carlton was like, stay out of my way and leave Lisa alone. Will was like, bet. I won't mess with y'all. So Next day, um, Will and Trey are at the house, walking the place. They see Carlton and Lisa. Will's like, let's go to another way. Trey is like, nah, I'm finna go talk to her. So he goes up to Lisa, says, hey, I'm Trey, boom, boom, boom. My boy Will always talking about you. And Will is like, yo, let's go. Sorry for messing with y'all. Now, that's interesting to me just because he was put into a position that he like basically had to humble himself and like really just kind of like put his head down and go the other way. I think Carlton thought it was like kind of funny. Like, oh, he's really like I got him. Like I got you moment. Um, but it's like it's really shameful that has to happen or that like basically did happen. So that's the dynamic between Lisa and Will. Like I don't know if they're becoming closer as like to be in a relationship or closer as friends, but it seems to be that they were becoming more and more close to becoming friends than in a real relationship with each other. It's already weird that Lisa is dating, like had dated Carlton. So, we didn't see, and it may be out of order. I'm kind of just going off of the important parts that I wanted to talk about. Hillary and Ashley, we find out Ashley likes a girl, Lucia. She was looking for a friend, Lucia, when she went over to Guy's house in episode 4. We find out that she actually likes Lucia, but she's not sure. She's not counting boys completely out. So it's like she likes girls or she likes this girl, but she thinks she likes boys as well. So she's trying to figure, like she's at an age where she's trying to figure out what it all means. She didn't want to talk to her parents about it because she didn't want to feel like they were going to say it's just a phase and not be real, like helpful in the advice that they give her. So she talked to Hillary. She asked if she's surprised, and we could see the surprise in Hillary's face, but she wasn't going to down her for her feelings. And so you can kind of respect that a little bit more. Like this Hillary is so much more amazing as a person in this series than she was. Like the Hillary from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air she's iconic because she's one of a kind character. But the Hillary in this series she's amazing because she's the type of big sister everybody wants. I almost forgot about Aunt Viv in this episode just because Aunt Viv didn't like her part or her story is still developing with the art. Like she's getting to the point where she went out to meet one of the art directors, I guess. I'm not really an artsy person, but it was Michael Eaton. Pretty Eyes is what I call him. She went and met up with him at an art gallery, and he was saying, hey, it seemed like he was trying to shoot a shot with her. And Viv got that vibe too. And so she was like, yo, she's not sure where she wants to be with painting because she's still trying to find her groove and everything like that. And he was like, yo, look at this wall. There's a big blank wall. And he was like, this is for you. Like whenever you're ready, you got a space to feel with your art. So that was pretty cool. And then at the end of the episode, we actually see her complete a painting that she's like proud of and everything like that. So we're starting to see where she is with painting and everything like that. So let's get into the D-Smoke concert. The boys and Uncle Phil go to the D-Smoke concert. Uncle Phil, Trey, and Will. I think Carlton was doing some things. He was doing some things with Lisa. And so when they get to the concert, they're excited. They meet D-Smoke. It's backstage passes and everything like that. Uncle Phil actually has to meet with the police chief, and there was another guy there, and they were saying, "Hey, he needs to calm down to defund the police." Statement that he made at the skating rink event, and Uncle Phil was like that. He means it. Basically, he's not playing it safe anymore. He's trying to win this DA position. So he understands what he needs to do to win, and he means what he says. And so it was like, all right, people not going to like it. So, but in the meantime, Will and Trey, they had a conversation. I think Will told Trey that he was thinking about staying, and Trey was like, I know what you mean. You're going to stay. And Trey just wanted Will to say it, like he's staying in LA. He's not coming back to Philly. And Will was like, Will made a point. He said, look around us. Where in Philly do we have this? They at the D-Smoke concert, in the private rooms at the stadium, and with food. Like they're cool, they're good. And he was like, where do we have this in Philly? Trey didn't have a response. So Trey feels like Will is actually turning his back on where he comes from. Will's thinking more so of, this is an opportunity for me. And I would think that you would be happy talking to Trey. I would think that you would be happy for me. But Trey's issue with the whole thing is, he said, nigga, you got rich and I got fucking shot. I get your point. But at the end of the day, it's like, how do you, as being Trey, what can Trey do to benefit from like Will being out there? Only thing I can think of is appreciating your time out here, getting to know the people that he's living with, and coming out more often. You have to take those opportunities, and you can't be upset with how things transpire, because obviously, you know that he had these cousins. You know that they were always a resource to Will, and you being a good friend of Will, they were a resource to you because you've met them before. That's one. Two, they came out here and they got you to LA and you didn't have to worry about anything. That's another thing. So it's like, use this to your advantage. No, they're not your family, but they're your partner's family. So it's a toss up, just because it's like, man, you understand where Trey is coming from, but you also see the benefit that Will gains as a 16, 17-year-old moving from Philly to Bel-Air in one of the top schools. Still, I mean, like, they have good athletics, so he's still producing from an athletic standpoint. So it's like, you're only mad because it's not you. And that's why I'm looking at it from Trey's perspective. He's only mad because it's not him. He's not mad because his friend is not coming back. He's more so mad because, it's not me, but it's Will. And Will's not coming back. It's stupid for him to come back. But we get that. Will finally tells his mom that he wants to stay. And we can see that she's not happy with that decision, but she respects it. And he tells her his crown is waiting for him as soon as he finds the courage to wear it. And he said he's ready to wear it. And that's what she tells him, like, throughout the whole beginning of the series. And he tells her that, and he's like, he's ready to wear it. So that's what made her respect his decision and staying in Bel-Air. It's actually interesting that they flipped the story from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air to this Bel-Air with between Trey and Will, because if you remember back, Trey, played by Don Cheadle back in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, he was encouraging Will to stay, encouraging Will to, you have a better opportunity here than you do back at home. And then this one, Trey was the more dramatic sense of everything. Was Trey was telling Will, like, you need to come back home. Things aren't the same without you. You done came out here and this just so bougie. He couldn't really pinpoint anything bad to say about Will being out there outside of it's bougie. But Will was, Will was in the sense of missing home and, back on the original. And this one, he's like, yeah, I miss home, but I know the opportunity here. Like, just from the few episodes that we have, he's already, top school, got onto the basketball team there. One of the top schools in the area, got on the basketball team. His uncle's fraternity brothers, he's met them and talked to them and, talking to politicians and meeting different and very important people. And in a sense, he's not doing that same thing in Philly, and he doesn't have the opportunity to. So, I mean, Will got to make decisions for himself to better himself. And Trey doesn't like it. Trey can't get with it. And so that's where, Trey leaves early. Trey was supposed to be there for a week, but he ended up leaving early because him and Will got into it about that, which it's just, it shows the immaturity of the two and where they were as far as like maturity levels with being in high school and stuff like that. So I'm curious to see what's next for him in this next episode. That's pretty much the end of episode 5. Trey left and Will had to live with this decision and be happy with it. So let me know your thoughts on this episode 4 and episode 5. Like, let me know what your thoughts are about the storylines and the development of them, as well as the relationships between the characters. Leave a comment down below and let me know what's your favorite or what's the relationship you'd love to see develop more and see where it goes as well. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, 3 Media Studios. Like the video, share it, leave a comment, like I said. And yeah, man, that's going to be the end of this review. I'll catch you guys next week. All right, peace. Come on.